All right, welcome back to the Rush Hour Podcast, the 15-minute podcast where we talk about various Yu-Gi-Oh topics. And today we're going to be talking about Edison innovations. So what that means is in like the last 2 months, I want to say, maybe even 3 months since the big three has been established as a thing this year, I feel like when you put a target on your back, right? Like when you say these are the best three decks in the format, these are the decks that win most of the tournaments, these are the decks that top the most as well, which is true, then everyone can look at those decks as the decks to beat, and they will literally make their entire game plan to beat those decks. And we've seen a lot of decks have great results with their innovations like Iado's Glad Beast. The Chicago Monthly that just passed was won by X Sabers, which crazy.
We don't talk about the Chicago monthlies.
But we have to, though, because they are a part of Edison format. And I think that, like, I watch your streams every time you do it, and over 100 people watch at any given moment. So, like, people are watching those, and they're 70 players sometimes. Like, they get pretty high in the number. And it's, like, good people. I've seen Rick Novak topped. I've seen Marcus Hayden go undefeated in Swiss, I think. So, like, it's good play. Eric Chai, Matt Kalinda. I'm talking about people who have won Ultimate Time Wizard tournaments. Like, you're there. You're usually a judge or a commentator or whatever. But the point is, there's talent there. And you have a deck like X Sabers that hasn't done a single thing prior to 2024. But now it won the Chicago Monthly. But not even just that. In Europe, it also top 8 at YCS Lille, which was won by Machina Control, which is another deck that's like that. I don't think the deck had a win outside of maybe, okay, it won another European tournament a while ago with like Triple Spy. There was a Triple Spy build that won a 200 person tournament in Europe. I'm not sure what it was called, but it was a while ago. Like really,
Machina?
it was a Machina deck, yes, with Triple Spy in it. Yeah, and it was first and second were both Machina Control, but they were very different. The second place build played Peacekeeper, and I don't know if it played Machine Duel, but it played Peacekeepers. The first place build played Spies, and it was like a whole thing at the time, but it just completely faded out. We had Monster Mash win at YCS this year, or that Italian tournament, whatever. I'm not sure.
Yep.
I don't know the names of all the European tournaments. So if I'm calling them Ultimate Time Wizard or Euros or Nats or what, I'm not sure what they are, but they're tournaments that have close to 200 players, if not over 200 players, so they're valid. And you had fucking Monster Mash one, right? You had in Niagara, me and you experienced top 8 where a Valhalla Fairy deck top 8 it for the first time. I don't think that's ever happened before. Like I've seen builds of it. I've never seen it make top 8. I had to play the guy in top 8. Shout out to him. His deck is awesome. I actually think his deck is just good. You guys will see that on the next episode of Master and Disaster. And then we also had Teledad got second place at the event. Christia Sworn won its first event. As far as I know, on at least in the United States, maybe in Europe it might have won. I think it won something recently, actually, like a Light Sworn, Christia Sworn deck won something. But the point is, there's just been a lot of innovation happening lately, and it's not all focused around Frogs, Blackwing, and Value. And that's why I'm excited, because that means that the longevity of Edison is still going strong.
Yeah, no, 100% agree. That's part of the reason why the format is so, I guess, played.
Yeah.
Because truly any deck can kind of win. Like the power levels and consistency levels of the top decks aren't that much higher than any other deck. Yeah, Edison is just at a great spot right now. I'm kind of annoyed by it because the meta's blown wide open, so it's hard to prep for stuff.
It is. I don't know what to think going into Anaheim, but the good thing is we have a break right now. There's no event to go to in person in November. That's like a YCS level event or anything like that. There's no RBET scheduled. There's no YCS. So as far as I know, November is a pretty open month, except if you play online, there's going to be like Edison World Championship and then RBET rulers are going to happen in November, and probably some other tournaments like online stuff will continue. But in terms of traveling and booking and all that stuff, the stuff that costs a lot of money to do, I think that we have a good month to just take a break, which I need personally. I've been playing a lot, and that's a completely different topic. But I just think in terms of innovation, I'm really excited where the game is going, because a lot of people think that on the outside looking in, when people hate on Edison, one of the biggest critiques is, oh, it's just birds format. And there was a time where I kind of bought into that too, because Blackwing and Value were so dominant in like 2022, 2023 time, mainly Blackwings. Blackwings 2022 was crazy. I remember top 4 was 4 Blackwings in multiple tournaments at the end of the year, and I was like, damn, this format really degraded into just birds. That birthed Diva Hero Beat, which beat the shit out of Pure Blackwing. Like that deck just handles it. And at the time, I don't think Pure Blackwing was like where it is now, where it plays like the draw traps and stuff. And that's another innovation that's come out this year, where draw traps are not just seen in Blackwings. Since they started off with Ludo, they're now seen across the board, and like you don't know when you're going to see draw traps now. I feel like any deck can play them.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, like there's so many innovations, and it just keeps cycling. I feel like even if Edison gets solved, I don't think it ever will, but even if it does, there's going to be the most giant like circle of like meta rotation ever, because it's not going to be like Go format where it's essentially like one deck has a good matchup and everything. Every deck has like good matchups and bad matchups into a bunch of stuff. So who knows where like at what point in the meta will be, because like GBs, for example, or like you said beginning of the video, are big because they have a good frog matchup, and frogs were huge.
Yeah, that's what caused it. It was like Indianapolis, then you had Nationals, and then you had Sacramento were all won by frogs. Like all three of those Konami huge tournaments, like Edison major tournaments, were won by frogs. So then the whole format is, and then frogs got reprinted, like Substill got reprinted. So then the whole format was looking at frogs as the deck to beat. And I spoke about this in videos saying that there's an anti-frog meta developing. That birthed a virus value deck that also won a tournament. So to add that to the innovations as well, where you have people citing Fusilia Dragon, Skill Drain, Triple Eradicator. So now Dragon Turbo just gets absolutely fucking bopped by that too, right? Like that has to be game against that deck, right? They're playing Elf and the Raven. So now their Greffer can go into an immediate 2,500 monster for Eradicator. But not only that, it makes it where against Monarchs, you just beat a Caius or Ryza or whatever immediately. Like you don't have to worry about Armwing being weaker. If they summon a Caius, you could literally go Greffer, pitch value, send Elf in, make a 2,500 guy attack. And all of a sudden, you have a play that normally would have been make Goyo Guardian and stack a card, which could put you really far behind. Now you don't have to do that. You can just go for your regular game plan that also feeds into your Burial, your Return, and your Virus, right? Like you attack over the Caius, you attack a Greffer, and then you set a Virus and you say go, and now you just feel really comfortable. So I'm a fan. Also, Mask Restrict is back. It's just back.
Yeah. Yeah, like the Dream Frog, Fishborg Frog, whatever came out. That was an innovation this year. It's just like this is just a giant circle. Blackwing, then DB Hero beat, then Value beats DB Hero beat, then Frogs beats Value, then GVs and all this other crap. Now Christia's like on like kind of like on the rise because I feel like it has a lot of good matchups in general.
It does, yeah. The Consecrated Lights and stuff like that, they're really good against all the bird decks, of course. Like I said, I saw Sushant Televisual playing the last round of Niagara, and his opponent was playing the Valhalla deck, the guy who top 8'd it. He had in multiple games Orb plus Imperial Iron Wall and like Christia or Tethys on the field. When I would look over, because they were sitting right next to me last round 8, I'm looking at it. I didn't know what their records were, and I didn't want to interrupt them. But I was like, I feel like they have to be X1, and I was X2 playing for my life. And the winner of that match topped. And game 3, I just remember looking over and seeing Christia, Orb, Imperial Iron Wall, and the guy had cards in his hand too. And Sushant was just kind of like, you could just tell he had that look like, I'm not winning this match. So Imperial Iron Wall is another card that obviously these cards are not anything new under the sun. They're known about. We've known about Imperial Iron Wall, but now you're seeing in a valid deck. Like I think that Tethys Fairy deck is real.
Right.
I really think it's real. You're going to see Massive Disaster comes out on Tuesday. So next Tuesday, like you're going to see me and Kenny, we play it. And I already had my suspicions about it because like, I think his build is just really solid. When I played against him, I felt what could go wrong during the duel. Like I felt exactly where I noticed. Turn 1 Tethys is terrifying, and most decks can't answer it. And I was fortunate enough to open up with a turn 1 Miracle Fusion play, which like I think Frogs is probably the only deck that can really do that. Usually, even Diva Hero can't do that normally without Future Fusion specifically. Yep. So like the whole like beat it in battle turn 1 is not normal. Like most like Value would even have to go like set Raiko or something, right? Like it's not, you can't really beat it, and especially if you get heralded, which he did herald my Stratos. So that whole thing, the new, I think that deck is going to be here. I don't think it's going to fade out. And if people let it fade out, you're all suckers. If you let that Valhalla Fairy deck fade out, people should test it. I think that they should really test it, take it seriously. That Pudding Fairy deck, another innovation this year. Pudding has been really, like Marcus has been playing that deck now a lot. He's a really strong player, consistently getting right there, very, very close. And I feel like the first time he tops, he's going to win the event because that Pudding Fairy deck is very, very strong. It's a very good deck. He just went undefeated in the Chicago Monthly. It's another deck that I'm very scared to play. Like I do not want to play against that shit. And the reason why is because you remember what happened at Niagara rounds 1 and 2.
Yup. Wait, Niagara? Oh, for you or
for Marcus? Marcus Hayden played against.
Marcus cooked. Yeah, he cooked.
He played against Hansel round 1, our 2-time national champion, who was playing Dream Frogs, and he possessed Dark Soul, which is another card that people are playing now. Obviously, this is again a card that we knew about, but in terms of innovations, I don't think anyone's ever really made it work the way it works now. Because Dream Frogs is good against Dream Frogs. I argue is not good against Hero Frogs because it only duplocks you once, and that's kind of like it. And you don't know the game plan of Hero Frogs. I would always say like Hero Frogs can go in so many different directions. It's kind of like that value thing. You don't know if it's going to be an absolute zero game, a Monarch game, or like Frogs being annoying game. But he possessed Dark Soul not only against Hansel, but he also played Marcus Carice, and he was also on Dream Frogs, and he possessed Dark Soul him too, I think. So he was doing it multiple. I saw him do it to more than one person and win the entire set with possessed Dark Soul, stealing.
He did on 2 divas apparently.
He did it on 2 divas?
Yeah, apparently.
That's crazy.
Dude, the thing is also a Dark Fiend, and he plays what's that Sky Scourge? Enrise.
Yes.
Yes, there's so much synergy. Yeah, these decks are cooking. Twilight Sworn is, I feel like, I know that's not like an innovation, but it's definitely like upgraded, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that came out this year too. Like every deck is cooking right now.
Quietly, also, Dragon Turbo got some innovations that I don't think a lot of people notice because it's so small, but I think it's big. But I don't think people have really taken, like, I think about every minor change. When you guys, as the value team, all switched to playing Necro Gardener, I consider that to be a huge innovation to value. Like, it's one card, right? Everybody took out Spirit Reaper because that was the build that was 10 foot's build for a while. And Reaper died so Necro Gardener could live, and Necro Gardener has caused so many problems for every deck. That card is broken as fuck. And so Dragon Turbo got this innovation with Pro Storm and Hydro Pump, who are like the two leaders of that deck. They now play Mirror Force and Torrential in the main deck.
Yeah, that is so annoying. That's like when Frogs started doing Mirror Force Torrential. I'm like, this is going to be so annoying.
And
now they're doing it too.
Yeah, because you used to be able to just say, oh, I'm just going to rush it down. And Hydro Pump finally won one of the IMNerd tournaments last week, and he won it with Dragon Turbo. And like one of the things that happened in the finals, he's playing against Rawnak, which is, we're all a team. Me, Rawnak, and Hydro are on Ring of Destruction. And Rawnak was playing Frogs, of course, right? He's the god of Frogs. He was playing Frogs, and he ran into Mirror Force and Torrential. And he literally typed in the chat on Dueling Book, like, I did not expect either of those things. It was game one against Dragon Turbo. He got Mirror Force and Torrential for game.
Yeah, innovations. I feel like I haven't. There's been a few tournaments where the innovation has totally won. I guess the virus deck. But it's just, I was going to say, it's very satisfying when you innovate like that, like the Mirror Torrential thing, and you just like insta win a tournament or like top.
Yeah, I can't say I insta won, but I did do not Lone Fire. I did do Dandy Future Fusion at YCS Richmond. I went like 6-0 in Swiss, so I was guaranteed top. Then I lost in top 8, but then a couple months later, come back with the same deck after taking a brief stint with Dragon Turbo, don't ask. Come back with the same exact deck from Richmond, right? Like, the deck I did not change my deck from YCS Richmond. I think if you look at the YCS Richmond top 8 deck, and you look at the one that I won with, I think they're the same 41 cards. Like, that's an innovation too, is like playing that in Hero Frogs. Now that's kind of the standard now. Like, I'm seeing a lot more, even a Yondaime build that plays triple Ryza still plays Dandy and Future Fusion in the main deck, which definitely was not a thing. Like, that was not being done beforehand. So yeah, it's just cool. Innovations really do help to win tournaments. I think that raising the ceiling of the deck, you guys are now main decking like Charge as a 41st card. Well, you did that. Now that's going to probably become a thing.
I feel like it's so hard to innovate in Edison, but when you do, it's nice to see that you actually get rewarded, because all these decks just come out of the woodwork and actually top. It's not just some guy like burning the kitchen with some random cook. They're actually like doing well. Yeah.
What's the name of the guy who won your Chicago monthly with X-Sabers recently?
Alex Chen.
Shout out to him, because he plays cards that I didn't know existed. So there's a card called One with the Sword.
One with the Sword, yeah.
And it's an X-Saber card that says if you control only one X-Saber monster as like your only monster, Horn of the Phantom Beast. So if you guys don't know what Horn of the Phantom Beast is, it's a Tengu card. It's a card in Tengu playing format. And it says the monster gains 800, and if it destroys a monster in battle, you draw a card. I didn't know that it existed in Edison.
Marcus really likes X-Sabers too, and he plays that card. It's funny because Alex said he made that deck at like 2-3 in the morning and just randomly cooked it up, and now I think he said he's gonna cut that card.
I mean, his build won. He played a shit ton of traps. It was like double road or something.
I think so. At least one. Yeah.
Yeah, I watched the deck profile. You did the deck profile with him after he won, and like it was a very small monster count. Like the monster package was way smaller than I ever would expect it. It was only 2 full Helm Knights. Just things that I'm not used to seeing. When I see X-Saber decks, they're usually packed with monsters, and maybe that was the wrong direction to go. They usually have like triple Giant Rat, triple Emma's Blade, triple full Helm Knight, and triple of everything like Fall Troll, and then multiple Regidera dudes or whatever you call it. But he played a very small monster package and a very small spell package.
Yeah, he's not even playing Monk.
Yeah, there was no Monk. Cat was in there obviously, but there was no Monk, and it was just like level limit area B, like one copy of it, and just a bunch of traps, like a shit ton of traps. And he cooked. I mean, he won the whole thing. And like again, the top 8 of that event was a guy who has 3 Ultimate Time Wizard tops, right? Like Rick has 3 of them. He just came in second and I think third, right? So like he was in top 8. Marcus Hayden, who's won a YCS and an ARG and is just a good Yu-Gi-Oh player. Other names that I don't recognize because I'm not from Chicago, but like also solid players too. So yeah, I don't like to look at something that happened and immediately discredit it as not being real or whatever. Like a lot of the internet will see something like that and be like, oh, this couldn't have been real. How could 6Ams get second? Like stuff like that. Or how's the Dragon deck? And not, I like the meme and it's funny, right? But then you have to think about it. What is really going on here though? Like, are these innovations really pushing the meta and pushing these decks to be better than people thought? And I do think, like you said, every small change to a deck can be really big in Edison format specific.
Yeah, like you really have to take into account like how the deck works. You can't just be like blindly trust results, and I feel like a lot of people do that.
Yeah, it's definitely a bad idea to blindly trust results. Because I mean, it's funny. Hero Beat. Oh god, to end this off, Hero Beat is just in such a sad spot. It got second against X Sabers in the finals, and it got second against fucking Machina Control in the finals of YCS Lille. So that can't catch a break. Like, it still can't win. And I don't, like, it not winning is not a big deal per se, right? Like, it has so many tops. We know it's a good deck, even though my last video with it says otherwise. But we know it's a good deck, right? Like, we're not memeing 100%. Like, the deck can beat anyone. You could lose. You could sit down against that deck and you could lose. But for whatever reason, when it gets to the top cut, it just doesn't do it. And I think it needs to.
Never won anything.
I don't think it's won a single thing. I think it just needs to be innovated, maybe in a different way. I refuse to believe that like that package can't work somehow. I don't know. Somebody has to figure it out. It will not be me. But with that being said, guys, what do you all think about Edison innovations that have happened this year and just decks being changed and pushed and now they're topping or winning, right? Like we're seeing decks win that never won before, like Christius Warren and X Sabers and stuff like that. Like, what do you think about that? GBs getting wins, like even GBs have wins before Diva Hero Beat does. So that's innovation for you.
That's crazy.
Yes, bro. So put it into perspective. Like, it's actually nuts. But all right, we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.